Welcome. In the previous video, we created a parser capable of parsing strings, and in this one, we are going to parse function calls. We can begin by adding a function call kind. Then to our AST value union, we need to add AST value function call, and the AST value function call is going to be a struct that is going to contain a function and some arguments for now. These arguments are just a dynamic array of ASTs, in this case defined as count, capacity, and data. Then we can create a constructor for our function call value, and this is just what you are used to see. Now we can create a new function called parse that is going to return an end of file AST in case of tokens being empty, and is going to report an error in case of parsing fail. Inside this function, we can begin by testing if the current token is a token ID, and if that's the case, we must check if the token afterwards is a left parenthesis. But first, we need to implement the token speak function. Inside tokenizer.age, we can add its signature. And the implementation in this case is going to be quite simple, because if the index we are trying to pick does not exist, we return end of file, otherwise we just return the token. Now inside our parser.age file, we can shift the first and second token because we already know that it is an ID and left parenthesis. After that, we can create a variable for our arguments. And if the current token is not a right parenthesis, then we know that we have some arguments in the function call. And that means that we can just call parse expression function to our argument, and if we were not able to parse, we need to return an error. In this case, we can just say that we expected an expression and use the location of the left parenthesis. Then we can just append the argument to the arguments array. Yes, this works with just one argument, but in the future we are going to work with multiple arguments. After parsing our arguments, we must check if the current token is the right parenthesis. If not, we report an error. If the current token is the right parenthesis, then we can safely shift it. And finally, we can return a new AST node of a function call. We must not forget that if we didn't find the left parenthesis here, we must report an error saying that we expected a function call. Now inside our parser AST from tokens, we can replace all of this code by just a simple return statement of parse statement. The only thing missing is to update the dump AST function to also work with AST function calls. In this case, we are going to print function call, the name of the function, and all of the arguments present in the function. Lastly, if we add a print line call to our demo file once again and run the script, you can see that we have a print line function call with the one parameter hello YouTube. And this is how you parse a function call. In the next episode, we are going to parse statements.